Have you ever stood in a shop holding something priced at £9.99, known with complete clarity that this was functionally £10, told yourself you were not fooled by the 1 penny difference, and then noticed later that you had bought it? The gap between knowing what is happening and being unaffected by it is one of the stranger features of consumer behavior, and the 999 price tag sits right in the middle of it. You see through the trick. The trick works anyway. Retail pricing that ends in 9 is so universal that walking into a shop where prices are rounded to whole numbers feels unusual. Online, in supermarkets, in electronics retailers, in clothing chains, the pattern repeats across every category and every price point. Not just 99 pence or 99 cents, but £9.99, £99, £999. The 9 recurs at every decimal place, and the effect it produces is consistent enough that generations of retailers have maintained the convention without needing to understand exactly why it works. Surveys consistently find that consumers underestimate the price of items ending in 9 compared to rounded equivalents. Brain imaging studies have found that prices ending in 9 activate different neural processing pathways than rounded prices. The effect has been documented across cultures, age groups, and income levels. It is one of the most reliably replicated findings in consumer psychology. And it has nothing to do with why the pricing convention was originally introduced. But here's the surprising truth. Prices ending in 9 were not invented by a psychologist studying consumer behavior. They were invented by a shopkeeper trying to stop employees from stealing cash. The psychological effect that retailers now exploit deliberately was a side effect that nobody planned for, built on top of a fraud prevention mechanism that most of the businesses using it today have never heard of. Today, we're unpacking where 9.9 pricing actually came from, how a 19th century anti-theft system became one of the most powerful tools in retail marketing, and why a trick that everyone knows about continues to work on everyone who knows about it. To understand the origin, you have to go back to the retail environment of the mid to late 19th century and the specific problem that cash-based shops faced with employee theft. In a shop where goods were sold at round numbers, £1 for a shirt or 5 shillings for a pair of shoes, a dishonest employee collecting payment from a customer had a straightforward opportunity. They could accept the exact amount, place it directly into their pocket without registering the sale, and the transaction would leave no record. The customer had the goods. The employee had the cash. The owner had no way of knowing a sale had occurred unless they happened to be watching. The cash register was invented in the United States in 1879 specifically to address this problem. James Ritty, a saloon owner in Dayton, Ohio, who suspected his bartenders were skimming takings, developed a mechanical device that recorded each transaction and required the drawer to be opened to complete a sale, creating a paper record of every amount handled. But the cash register only solved half the problem. It recorded transactions when it was used. It could not force employees to use it. Pricing at amounts that required change solved the other half. If a shirt was priced at 99 cents rather than $1, no customer paying with a dollar bill could complete the purchase without receiving a penny in change. Receiving change required opening the cash register. Opening the cash register created a record. A dishonest employee who wanted to pocket the payment would have to either shortchange the customer, which created a visible and complaining witness, or ring up the transaction to produce the change, which created the very record they wanted to avoid. The odd pricing did not prevent theft through any psychological mechanism. It prevented theft by making every transaction structurally require an interaction with the till. Think of it like a turnstile at a railway station. The turnstile does not prevent fare dodging through persuasion or psychology. It prevents fare dodging by making legitimate entry require a physical action that simultaneously records the transaction. 99-cent pricing was a retail turnstile. The awkward amount forced an awkward change-making step that bypassed any opportunity for a clean, unrecorded diversion of funds. The practice spread through American retail in the 1880s and 90s as cash registers became more common, and the combination of odd pricing and mechanical recording became a recognized system for honest accounting. Trade publications of the period discussed the combination explicitly as a fraud prevention tool. The psychological effect on customers, if it was noticed at all, was not the point. So, if the original purpose was anti-theft, when did retailers begin understanding and exploiting the psychological dimension? The answer, as is often the case in history, comes down to the accumulation of data over time. As retail expanded through the 20th century, and retailers began comparing sales figures across different pricing strategies, the effect of 9 ending prices on purchase rates became impossible to ignore. An item priced at $2.99 consistently outsold the same item at $3 by margins that exceeded anything the 1-cent price difference could explain rationally. Academic research into the phenomenon began appearing in consumer psychology literature from the 1970s onward, and by the 1980s the psychological mechanism had been studied in enough detail to give retailers a theoretical framework for what their sales data had already shown. The leading explanation involves the way the brain processes written numbers. Reading happens left to right, and the leftmost digit of a price is registered before the full number has been processed. A price of £2.99 is anchored by the 2 before the 99 is processed, placing it in the mental category of £2 items rather than £3 items, even though the difference is a single penny. This is sometimes called the left-digit effect, and it is consistent across a range of experimental conditions. A second mechanism involves the associations that rounded prices carry in many retail contexts. Rounded prices are common in premium and luxury markets, where a watch priced at £5,000 signals confidence and quality. Odd pricing signals a discount, a value offer, a sale. In mass retail contexts, that signal works in the seller's favor even when no actual discount is being offered. What makes the effect particularly interesting is its persistence in the face of explicit awareness. Studies have exposed participants to explanations of the left-digit effect and then measured their price perception in subsequent tests. The effect persists. Knowing that your brain anchors on the leftmost digit does not stop it anchoring on the leftmost digit. The mechanism operates at a level of cognitive processing that conscious knowledge does not easily reach. You can know exactly what is happening and still feel the pull of £2.99 over £3 in a way that a penny's difference in real terms does not justify. So the next time you see a price ending in 99 and feel the familiar, entirely transparent pull of it, you'll know the full history of what you are experiencing. A fraud prevention mechanism from an Ohio saloon in the 1870s, adopted by retail chains that needed a way to force every transaction through a cash register, generating a psychological side effect that nobody designed, and that took a century of sales data to fully understand, eventually studied, named, and deliberately deployed by an industry that discovered the trick worked whether or not the customer knew the trick existed. The penny is not the point. It never was. The point is the digit to the left of it, and your brain has been reading that digit first, since before retailers knew it mattered.